What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is the Hunting Overtime Podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Eric.
And we're going to talk a lot of different things today, whether it's elk hunting with Tyler, we got some deer hunting tactics, lots of things like that. So we appreciate you watching, and let's dive into it. Let's get Tyler called. Hey, oh my goodness, you're still ugly.
Well, yeah, I know. I moved back to my spot.
Is that better connectivity?
Yeah, it's a lot better. It must have been you.
Must have.
I might blow our router right here, so.
Okay, 1 second. I gotta turn a screen record on.
Turning my headphones here. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking.
Are you on your phone?
Yeah.
Any way you can turn your phone sideways?
Oh, my goodness.
There. Now the only catch is going to be is if we're able to get your audio on the camera.
Oh, you're videoing.
Yeah. So hopefully we get it all good. Otherwise we might have to do some superstar editing.
I was going to say, we're going to find out your editing
Yeah,
skills.
we might test my editing skills. We'll find out.
Yeah.
So we got a list of stuff here today, but nothing too crazy that you're probably going to be surprised by or anything. But mostly we want to talk about the elk season. So let's start. If you could just kind of, you want to do a run through, or you want me to run through it for you?
Oh, I can do a run through. Just run through from the start.
Yeah, start in September, would you? Like how things go down. What? Obviously, don't tell exactly where we went, but generalities.
Well, I can just give them all GPS coordinates, and we'll just be done with
it. Yeah, drop. You want me to just send them to me, and I'll put the waypoint.
Yeah.
I'll just make them links to Onyx, and it's just so everybody can have them.
But yeah, so getting into the start of the elk season, we knew where we were hunting. We had the unit picked out. It was a general tag, and spot we've been to before, a spot that you're fairly familiar with. I'd been to it once, and we headed up there on, well, I couldn't hunt opening weekend just because work and stuff didn't quite pan out that way, and my vacation was taken. Oh, I think it was, I don't even remember what time in September it was. It was mid-September, sometime like the 14th or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't, was it second weekend, right?
Yes, I believe so, because I didn't want to wait till the 3rd, but ended up I probably should have waited until the 3rd.
Yeah, hindsight's 20/20 though. I mean,
yeah, exactly. You can never predict what they're going to do in limited time, and
we've been up there.
Vacation.
We've been up there when they were screaming that first weekend and that second weekend. So
yeah, exactly. So I leave here. It's about an 8-hour drive out there. Get out there about 10:30ish on a Friday night after I stopped at Mom and Dad's to pick him up.
I kind of forgot about this story, to be honest with you.
And I think, well, Brian was already up there, and he was camping in a spot. So we get up there, and I go to a waypoint that I thought was the correct camp spot.
Okay, so I gotta stop you because I gotta make this clear to everybody so they know that I'm not the knucklehead. So we were texting like it was a couple days before, and I sent you a waypoint that specifically was titled 2022 Elk Camp Night 1 or something like that. Something along the lines that it was Night 1 Elk Camp. But we also had some buddies of mine that, well, I guess you knew one of them, right? that had sent us a waypoint of a different camp, and I think it was titled like Elk Camp, but they shared this waypoint with us. And it was a place that you had been in the past, or you kind of knew where it was. And so I sent you the right waypoint, for the record. I just want to get that clear before you continue with the story. Is that I sent you the waypoint, and it was titled like Night 1 Elk Camp or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyways.
But, so I go to the waypoint that, since we were talking about a waypoint, I went to the one that I could tell was new on my map, and it was blue. All of our other ones are that red-orange-ish color, and the one that Brian added was that red-orange-ish color. So I went to the one that was blue because, hey, it makes sense. We were talking about that one. Why wouldn't it be blue? So I went up there. We get camp set up, and we're laying in camp. I'm laying in bed. My dad's laying in the pickup. That's where he's sleeping, and gets to be a little late. I'm like, geez, Brian should be here by now. I don't know where he'd be at, and I'm trying to send him messages.
I was like 4 hours ahead of them, for the record.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But we went
night
bugling.
And I'm sitting there like, geez, I messaged him on the Zolio, messaged him on my phone, and none of them were going through. He didn't have service, and I didn't have really very good service at all. And so we spend the night there thinking that something happened to Brian. And I think he was doing the exact same thing on the back end.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, so he's telling you, so they pull up and they do all that. Well, in the meantime, I have been asleep. I don't even remember what time I went to sleep. It was probably 9 o'clock or something like that. So we went out, we night bugled for not very long. We didn't go late into the night because the Caleb Newton, who I was with, had his 2 kids and his wife with him. So they went back home, and so I got to bed at like 9 o'clock. And I told myself, okay, I'm going to wake up. They're going to roll in about 11 or 11:30. And I wake up in the middle of the night at like 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I'm like, geez, they came in quiet. Like, somehow they snuck in and I never even heard them. Like, they got a pickup, they had to set up a tent, they had a trailer with 4-wheeler and side-by-side on it. Somehow they snuck in here and I didn't ever hear them. So I peek out of my tent, and you guys are just nowhere. And like you said, I don't have cell phone service. You have our Zolio. So like you're able to message people, but I can't because I don't have service. So I'm thinking there's this huge embankment that you have to drive past on the road. And I'm thinking, geez, it was super dark late in the night. They hit some washboards, went off the road. I'm thinking the worst. You're thinking the same, but the other way for me. So I was like, well, there's nothing I'm going to do about it at 1 a.m. So I just went back to sleep. Got up in the morning. I don't even remember what time I got up. Went higher up the mountain. Finally got a text through to you and figured out where you were at.
Yeah, and I think what ended up happening is we both got up in the morning, finally got messages through to each other, and then you ended up coming to pick me up because Dad was staying there for that morning. He wasn't hunting with us, so you ended up picking me up. We booked it over to the spot, which was like 20 minutes away, and met up with Caleb. Caleb was there by the time we got there, and we were still there plenty early. First ones at the trailhead, and really no issues with other hunters right away in the morning there. And then we got all of our stuff gathered together, and that was actually the first time I'd ever hunted or met Caleb, and I'm very grateful that he was able to take time out of his morning and take us through there and kind of show us his spot. I know he likes to hunt that area, and he was nice enough to take us through there and try to get us on some elk.
Yeah. And we heard we did hear some bugles that morning.
Yeah, we got in there and we heard, I think it was 3 bugles. I don't know. We don't know if they were. We probably heard 2 different, but we heard 3 bugles total. And well, I don't know the exact bugle count. I don't remember, but we got in there and heard some. And We thought we were able to make a play on something, and it didn't end up panning out. But we get finished up with that hike, and we got done about 11 o'clock-ish, I believe, and Caleb had to get going, get back to his family, and that was his only hunt of the weekend because he had some family duties to take care of that weekend. But after he left, we were pretty much on our own you and I for the rest of the weekend, and me for the rest of the week with Dad.
Yep.
And we just kind of picked through a few different spots there. Our first night hunt there, I think, ended up being about twice as long as we planned.
Yeah, that was a tricky one. I don't know if I ever told you about that one, Archery.
I don't think so.
So, one thing you got to remember, and we didn't really think this through a whole lot. So when you're putting marks, like line distances on your Onyx, and you map it out and it reads like 2.5 miles, you have to take into account that is a straight line distance.
Yeah.
What did we end up? We ended up like over 5 miles on that hike.
Yeah, I think we were...
And we thought it was going to be a little over 2.5.
Yeah, we mapped out about 2.5 to 3, and then ended up at like 5.5 or something like that, just because we didn't follow the terrain features really. I just was in a hurry and took a quick line distance. So the more marks, the more pins you can drop on that line, the more accurate you're going to be, obviously.
Yeah.
We definitely did not do that, so we ended up with a pretty crummy hike that first evening.
Yeah, that was rough. Towards the end, we got into some deadfall, and we actually dropped off out of the trees early. We probably, like a mile we walked on the road.
Yeah.
But it would have been absolute hell if we stayed in the trees where we were at.
Yeah.
So, but then not much action through the week, right?
No, not really.
Once I left that Sunday, Sunday.
Yeah,
right?
From kind of my experiences, there was, I think, probably 3 opportunities that were probably messed up by me just being a newer, little bit inexperienced hunter. And one of them was, I think it was midweek sometime. We were walking in this specific hike. You kind of follow a logging road, and you're kind of walking on that logging road, and we get in there in the morning, and I'm sitting there ripping off bugles, and we finally hear one. We hear a bugle off in the distance, and he's responding to us. So we start working up the road, and he's still responding, and he's actually getting closer. So he's actually interested in what's going on there. But we made the mistake, or me, because I was kind of running the show there, but I made the mistake of staying on that logging road, which happened to be above him. And once you're above him, it's a little bit more difficult to make a play, I feel, not being real experienced, but I think if I would have got on his level and came at him, and I would have had, 1, a better play on the wind, and 2, a better play on him in general, I think he would have been more apt to come in, and I would have been able to get a shot on him and been able to see him better. Just kind of the way the road laid out and the way he came up underneath us. He was downwind, and there was lots of cover along the road, and I don't think you can, from what I can tell, you never really can win if you're directly above them. But I'm sure there's scenarios where that works out. I just, learning from that, I would always try to be on their level when I'm making a play on them.
So you're 29 years old. Didn't you have enough experiences in college of your friends telling you to get on my level?
No, that's weird because I never had to. No.
I thought everybody just knew to get on my level.
Yeah. Oh. But after that, we kept walking through there, and I did end up jumping another elk out of there, and that was just another thing of you're on a logging road, and it's not necessarily very good for cover and good for quietness, but cover-wise on a logging road, you really don't have any.
Right.
So going through there that morning, if I could do it different, I would drop down in the trees. And the evening.
That was Friday, I think, right? Or was
I don't remember.
Well-
All the days are blended together.
yeah? So you were there for 9 days straight.
Yeah, exactly, and that's.
I was thinking wasn't it? Maybe I have the wrong elk in mind, but wasn't it Friday? Because then the next day we went back in there with Eric. Or am I jumping ahead?
Maybe that. I don't remember. I'd have to be looking at all of our video to see if I can piece together the days there. But there was the second opportunity that I kind of felt I messed up. We went into a new area. It was probably 25 minutes away from our old area, so we were hunting completely different elk, completely different terrain, and just completely different area. There was even different weather over there.
Yeah.
We went over there on a fairly rainy day, and we get in there, we hike back in there. We're pretty early, so we get in there and we just sit for like an hour and a half to 2 hours just to see if we can hear an early afternoon bugle. I kind of did that quite a bit. I kind of feel like, same with turkeys, if you get on an early afternoon gobble, early afternoon bugle, they're more apt to want to do something with with your calls, and they want to come in more just because they're fired up really on their own.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They're kind of doing it on their own rather than like just being like in the mornings and even in the evening. Sometimes it's just like a natural time where they just always bugle. So if you can hit an early afternoon one or mid-afternoon one even, that there's something special about that bull where he's extra fired up because they don't just do that just to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that was what our goal was when we got in there. And we get in there, we battled rain pretty much that whole day and a half that this was going on. And we get in there, it starts to rain on us, of course. My boots are soaked. I've got squishy boots. I squeeze water out of the insoles and out of my socks when we get back to the pickup. But we hear.
Which you've now invested in a new set of boots.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things that I learned is be smart with your gear choices. That could have easily ruined my hunt, and I was lucky enough to have a pickup there where I could dry my boots out in the floor heater, but that
if you'd
100% could have ruined my hunt.
If you'd have just been in a tent on your own, like it'd have been game over.
Yeah,
you'd
exactly. I never would have got those dried out. I probably would have done something stupid.
You'd have had to waste the whole day or something.
Yeah. But we're in there. It's getting to be a little bit darker. We finally hear a bugle down in the bottom, and then we hear what we thought was a hunter also, kind of coming in on that bugle from the road, which is pretty common play in that area. Is just coming in off that road, walking it straight down the trail, and trying to hear bugles up in the draws. So we hear a bugle down in the river bottom, and we try to get closer, but it kind of got to the point where it was getting late. We knew we weren't going to be able to do anything with that one, so we wanted to get out of there and go check that trailhead to confirm that there was a hunter in there and not two elk. So we're booking it out of there, and we get probably half a mile from the road, half a mile from the vehicle, and I hear a chuckle. And once I hear that chuckle, I'm just thing going through my head is I'm in a hurry to get out of there because I want to get down to the trailhead before dark just to see who's down there.
Right.
And I keep going, and all of a sudden a branch antler bull busts out of there. And obviously I'm kicking myself for that one because I'm new enough to where I don't know if I should be trying to guess what's an elk and what's a bugle tube just because I haven't heard as many. And that's one of the other things that I learned that week is you have to basically assume it's an elk until you have confirmation that it's a hunter, at least for me, because I'm not good enough at just from 100 yards away deciding if it's a bugle tube or not. So in that situation, if I could do it again, I would obviously, once I heard that chuckle, I'm stopping, I'm freezing, and I'm trying to figure out what exactly is going on there, not just one track minded all the way out of there.
Yep, for sure. And that did that kind of end out that week before we came?
Yeah, yep. And that by that time of the week, we were checking places further from camp and stuff. So that's when you guys got there.
Yeah,
we were.
And it's kind of crazy.
Spots.
It's kind of crazy, honestly, how like we hunted a lot of different areas. Even when you were there, we hunted a broad range. Like well, like we're talking 5 miles, 10 miles apart, maybe max.
Mm-hmm.
And the elk are doing different things. So you gotta understand, if you're not seeing or hearing elk in one place, which we heard some that first morning with Caleb, but then after that we couldn't find them over there to the south further. Mm-hmm. So we moved north, and it was a little bit different. Like it was, like you got to understand the elk are doing different things. Maybe you change 1,000 vertical feet, probably. Yeah. Like when we went to that one spot in the evening where we thought we were on them, like, or we knew we saw elk that night. Like you just got to understand that it doesn't take much of whether it's vertical feet or just horizontal distance, and those elk are going to be doing different things.
Yeah, exactly. And a specific example of that would be like one of the days we were just getting pounded by weather. We were probably I think we maxed out at like 10,000 feet.
Yeah, somewhere right in there is
we were getting
max.
Pounded by rain all morning, and we got drenched and soaked, and we dropped down to like 8,500 feet, and it was sunny and cloudy. So that is a fairly common example of just lowering your elevation. You get into different weather, but we definitely saw it there where we were getting pounded up top, so we dropped down, and we had pretty dang nice hunt weather.
Yep. So then that kind of brings us to Eric and I coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So we book it out there on a Friday after work, and we know we're going. This is your last weekend of archery. So we know we're going out for the Saturday hunt and the Sunday morning, because then you had, was it an 8-hour drive for you?
Yeah, about 8 exactly.
8-hour drive. Ours is about 4. So I'm going to kind of dish it off to Eric here. I kind of want to know, because I know what it was like the first morning that I ever walked into the elk woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it was like the first morning you ever walked in the elk woods. I want to know what it was like the first morning you ever walked, because this is the first time you've ever been elk hunting.
I know.
Really only the second time you've hunted in the mountains, other than our bear hunt in Idaho last year.
Yeah, that was the first time, other than going to Idaho, that I'd even been elk hunting in the mountains. So I don't know if I ever told Brian, but I was like 2 weeks later, I was driving, and I was like, man, I don't know whether to be thankful that they took me or mad at them, because I was like, that was kind of awesome. So I guess that kind of describes my first reaction, was just like, man, I'm actually here doing this, and I had a good time.
So like, what was it like, so we got up early. Our goal, this whole time we were hunting, our goal, because it is public land, so our goal was every morning we were going to get up earlier than everybody else, and we were not going to get beat to our spot, period. So like the weekend I was there with you, Tyler, I know when you were there through the week, the next weekend when we came up, we decided our spot the night before, and we made sure that we were the first person at that trailhead. So almost every single morning we had like sometimes almost an hour, but 45 minutes usually, is sitting in the pickup at the trailhead just waiting. Because we weren't going to let somebody beat us to that spot. If we wanted to hunt that spot, we were going to hunt that spot. So if you were going to beat us to that spot, you're going to have to be there at like 3:30, 4 o'clock a.m. Mm-hmm. Like you weren't going to beat us.
The funny thing about the schedules that us three run while we're at home, just the daily schedules, is a lot of times when we're going hunting, we're actually sleeping in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
So we get up. What time does your alarm go off, Tyler?
Mine goes off at 3:50.
3:50. Ours goes off around 3:30. Well, you might even be earlier than that.
Yeah,
actually.
mine's like 3:20ish.
Yours is 3:20. Mine's 3:35. So we are early risers. That's our we get up every single morning, all three of us, and we go work out. We're hitting the weights at 4 a.m. every day, and that does it's a different lifestyle. You got to get used to it, but. Talk about making a difference when you go to the elk mountains, or even if you're going to the tree stand whitetail hunting or waterfowl, whatever it is. Like you said, Tyler, we're literally sleeping in to go hunting. When we go hunting, we sleep longer than what we do on a regular weekday, and that makes a huge difference. And that, a lot of people, you wake up, you might still be excited to go hunting, but you're kind of groggy. You're not used that alarm goes off at 4:30 a.m. and bam, we're awake, we're ready to roll. We're nice, exactly. An extra hour or 45 minutes of sleep, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But
most of the time you wake up before your alarm goes off.
Yeah, a lot of times you wake up before the alarm goes off, exactly. Especially when you think the other person has ran themselves off a cliff because they didn't make it to the campsite.
Yeah, exactly.
Eric, what about so describe just kind of the feeling. So we're sitting there in the pickup at this trailhead, and we're just waiting.
Yeah. Honestly,
I didn't know what to expect.
That first morning we took Eric, we went to a spot that Dad and I had heard elk every time we've been in there.
Right, yeah.
And I didn't really know what to think because you and I rolled up in the dark. I couldn't even see the landscape other than where we parked.
And you hadn't seen the terrain, that's true.
So... I don't know. It's hard to even describe how I felt.
So we're sitting in the dark, and you just still haven't even seen it.
Yeah, I can't even see the landscape. Okay. So,
what about? And I will never forget this from the first time I went elk hunting. What about when we were walking away from the pickup? So it's just kind of getting daylight. Set the tone here a little bit for everybody. It's just dawning, not quite, but it's just breaking light. You just can see enough to not have a headlamp. And we're walking into the woods.
With a lot of deadfall. That's what caught me the most off guard. I won't lie.
I just remember the first time I did it, I was literally there was not even animals, but I was jittery. I was on edge, shaky,
Yeah, I would describe the feeling when you're deer hunting and there's deer off in the distance where you just, the anticipation factor.
It's different. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it, but,
yeah.
Even that morning for me, even though I've done it hundreds of times, that morning for me, I could still remember walking in down that logging road, stepping over the deadfall. It's cool that morning. It just felt good. But, long story short, because I don't want to run us too long on time on September archery, we were unsuccessful that weekend.
Yeah.
We did come super close that night, that Saturday night. How many bugles do you think we heard that night, guys?
40 at least.
Yeah, 40, and then saw a dang good bull at about 700.
Yes, that's right. I forgot. About 700 some yards on the other side of the canyon. We saw a really good bull. We think it was probably a 5-point, but it was... Talk about a frame on him. That was...
Yeah, I was going through our video. We got really good video of it, so...
Did we? Good. So, yeah, make sure you guys check that out. That's the Seasons Media. You're watching it right here. If you're listening, that's the Seasons Media YouTube channel. They do handles now. Did you know that? YouTube, we got handles now. So we are at the Seasons Media on YouTube also.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Geez, don't you check our email?
No. Yeah, I do. I didn't realize there was a handle. I thought you could always just find us by searching the Seasons Media.
Yeah, no, now it's at the Seasons Media on YouTube. You get to choose your own personal handle. They saved that one for us because that was our name. So then I just went in.
Being such a big name on YouTube, we got special treatment.
Yeah, so. We're big time. We got pushing 1,600 subscribers now. We're on our way, dude. We are on our way.
Yes, we are.
So, but yeah, I don't know, I had to go in and select. That's the one we wanted or something. I don't know. But anyways, that's our handle on YouTube at The Seasons Media. So you want to see some of that footage of that elk, that'll be dropping like December. We're dropping all our fall stuff in December. So, but yeah, I would say we heard like 40 bugles probably that night. And we were so high. I don't remember. What did I decide? How many vertical feet did we drop? I can't even remember. But we ran, when we heard that bugle, we knew it was down in the river bottom. But we ran straight down that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ran down that mountain.
All I remember is towards the end, Tyler looks over his shoulder and he whispers, "We're a long ways from the truck."
Yeah. But that's funny. What's kind of crazy is some of that stuff we marked as we were going down. We marked wallows, we marked trails, or we talked about them. But when I
marked that wallow with my foot.
Yeah, you did mark. Well, your knee, your shin, like.
Yeah.
You went knee deep in it almost.
That wallow marked me, maybe.
That wallow marked you. But a lot of that stuff I had already marked years past with Chad. When we had to go help pack out a bull the year I had a tag, we packed out another guy's bull, and we were on that side, same mountain, and we went down some of those trails. And I had marked those as main trails, and we were back on them again. It's just crazy. Like a lot of those elk, they're going to go back in the same places every year, and this has just been a good spot. But the weather had changed. It had cooled off. And those bulls lit up that night.
Yep.
And I really do believe that night was kind of the kickoff of like the main rut.
Yeah, I believe that. I 100% agree with you.
So I just think unfortunate because you got to plan with work and you don't know what's going on and we don't have the ability just to take off whenever. You were a week early. Is really what it comes down to with archery season. And that's just kind of the tough part with planning hunts like that is that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, without the ability to go there for a couple days, scope it out, and then come home and then go back, you're planning vacation 2 months ahead, and that's kind of what you're doing. Yep,
and you got to plan it with family, you got to plan it with work. There's a lot of things that go into it. You just can't. Just lifestyles, I guess, lifestyle differences where we just can't just take off whenever the heck we want. So.
Yep.
So archery season's over. We're trying to find a time. We plan a rifle hunt. Tentatively, obviously, and then things changed. And you were actually, the cool part was about your tag this year was his tag opened, the rifle season opened on a Saturday. And the reason that's monumental, I guess, is because, just like I said, we have other jobs and stuff like that. You don't have to take time off to get there for opening day. For example, like when I had a tag, I think opening rifle was on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Well, I had used all my vacation during archery season, so I couldn't get there for opening rifle. But you weren't going to be able to make it. Some things changed. You pulled it off, and you were able to make it just because some of your stuff changed around and shifted, and you were able to make it opening weekend of rifle. And so I guess just run through that. That's not going to be too long of a story, really.
No, not really. So I did the same thing, drive out there Friday night, get there late, and basically we go get on a glassing point Saturday morning right away, and we're really not necessarily far from the Ranger, and we're glassing and so pretty much instantly see elk. And
before you go any further, you mentioned being too far from the Ranger. What were your guys' tactics that Saturday? Because they're a little bit different. They're very different than what we do archery elk hunting.
Yeah, and the closest thing I would describe them to is antelope, where you're covering country, you're trying to cover as much ground as possible, you're trying to see as many openings as possible. That's definitely not how I had necessarily, like if I was going to do it on my own, I didn't really make that connection. That's something that Chad and Cole have figured out throughout the years.
Yeah, and that I'm sure that changes per location, but the guys that you went out with there with, Chad and Cole McKinney, they have hunted that area a lot. Like they know that stuff. They figured some of that out. We wouldn't have done that if
No,
just you and I went up there. We wouldn't have seen as many hillsides as you guys saw because we'd have done it differently.
Yeah, and we're talking, you're glassing from thousands of yards away.
Sure.
Just to get an idea where they're at.
Yeah. You got to put eyes on them, though.
Yeah, the first elk we saw that morning were 800 yards away, and I wasn't real comfortable taking an 800-yard shot, so we worked on getting closer, and as we were working on getting closer, the gunshot sounded, and once the gunshot sounded, they kind of ran off into the trees, and because I was trying to get within 500 yards of them, and just so happened where these ones were at, when we got up on them, we probably would have been 250 to 300 yards, which would have been no-brainer. But we get up there, and they had already spooked off into the trees, and that one of them is bugling. It's just nice deep bugle, and we're sitting there trying to call it out of the trees, which is pretty rare this time of year. Just they're not necessarily moving out of the trees once they go in them until nightfall. So he's in the trees for the day, and it gets to be about 8:30, and we get a message from Cole, and his wife had shot one right at daybreak. So it was time to get out of there, and we had an elk packed out. We had her elk packed out by 9:30 that morning.
Time to be pack mules.
Yep, and that wasn't a terrible pack out, and it was basically straight uphill about 400 yards, and then straight downhill 400 yards. So not terrible. We get that elk out, and we're hanging out until mid-afternoon when we see kind of the weather start to change and some deer on their feet, and we get in the Ranger and start covering ground again. And we covered even more ground probably that afternoon, and we saw a spike in a cow that were once again over 1,000 yards away, but not really in a position that I wanted to make a move on them, and I wasn't quite ready to shoot a spike at that time. So we moved on, and it gets to be sundown. So right at sundown, we spot these elk in this opening. I spot these cows, and we're kind of watching them, and Chad is just like, just keep an eye on them. There might be a bull following them. And a few minutes later, we see a bull walk out of the trees, and it's a smaller 5-point. Well, yeah, it's a smaller 5-point, and he works his way out, and I get all set up. I get the camera set up. I get behind the rifle and get in range, get my dope, and dial 4 3/4 MOA, no windage, and put it right on him and just hammered him. He took probably 10 steps and toppled over.
That's awesome. And that shot, yeah, like you said, 10 steps. Chad's texted me. I don't know if you even knew Chad texted me. So I knew you killed one before you messaged me on the Zolio.
Yeah.
I think I probably knew too.
You probably knew
Because
also.
you texted me.
And so Chad texted me. I don't even remember exactly what he said, but I think he just said, bull down. And then, obviously, then I'm sitting there. I'm wanting details. You don't get me called, by the time you guys get it packed out and stuff, you don't get me called till like after 9 o'clock. It's killing me. But, excuse me. He texted me, basically right away. You guys hadn't even went up to him yet. And he said his exact words were, "Your brother's shaking like a leaf."
Yeah. He looks over at me right before I'm getting ready to shoot. He's like, "You shaking?" Yeah, I'm shaking.
I'm shaking. Oh, that's funny.
Get ready to shoot an elk. I'm shaking. The adrenaline was definitely high. That's something.
Yeah, for sure.
Dreamed of since I was a little kid. So.
Yep, that's awesome. That's, like you said, it wasn't like the biggest trophy Boone and Crockett bull, but they have Boone and Crockett for elk, right? I guess I don't even know. I've never
Yeah,
even
they would.
I've never even looked it
Yeah.
up. Of course they would though, but I've never actually even looked it up. But it wouldn't have. I mean, you're not setting any records with it, but that any elk is a great first elk. Like there's so many. Like I've never killed a bull. I ended my tag. I hunted actually more days than you did, and ended up taking a cow because I wasn't going back without an elk. But to be able to harvest a bull with all the effort and work that you had to put in to do it, like that's rewarding. You walk up to, I can't imagine because I haven't done it, what that feel was as you walk up to that thing. Like, talk about success. Like,
Yeah. And that's something I don't know how it would have gone down if Chad and Cole weren't there helping me, but I can't say thank you enough to those guys. They were a huge part in me finding that elk and me getting an opportunity to shoot that elk. So that's one of those things I'll always be grateful for. Just they helped with that opportunity.
For sure. All right. I was gonna ask you about your weapon, but that might be something we need to keep on the DL.
Well, it launched yesterday. So
oh, it did?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
had some issues. I had some issues with my Model 700. I was shooting some 162 grain ELDXs out of it and 7mm Rem mag, and I just wasn't real thrilled with some of the groups that I was seeing at 200. So I borrowed a gun from a guy at work, and this specific gun happened to be chambered in the new round by Hornady, the 7mm PRC, which precision rifle cartridge. And I ended up taking that. It was shooting significantly better than my rifle was, so took that up there. I was shooting a 175 grain ELDX and shooting them, I think it was 3,054 feet per second out of that, and that just hammered them.
I put the smack down.
Highly considering doing a barrel swap on my Model 700 and putting a 7 PRC barrel on it now.
Are you? Okay, that's good. That's good to know. So you like it?
Yeah.
Big fan of the cartridge.
I was joking with one of my friends, Joe, yesterday that sample size of 1, I definitely recommend it.
Sample size of 1. In case you don't know our background, we're kind of math nerds, so that's why Tyler's talking about sample sizes and. All right. Do you still have a little bit of time?
If we take a 10-minute break, I'd have about 20 some minutes.
Okay.
If that works for you guys.
We'll take a 10-minute break with you. Eric and I are kind of keep rolling here. We're going to talk a little bit about his hunting plans coming up. But then I just want to kind of talk about your deer hunting and some tactics before we go. We don't have a ton of time. We probably got 15 minutes.
Yeah.
20 minutes? Can you do 10 after?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do 20 minutes. So we'll talk here for a little bit. Call us back when you can, and we'll go about another 10 minutes, and then we got to roll too because we got places we got to go.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
We'll talk to you in a little bit.
Yep. Bye.
All right. Bye. All right. So he'll call us back. What a lucky turd. First elk. Like, he's not even going to see this till he actually watches this. I don't know if he'll watch this or not, but first elk hunt, he gets a bull. I can't remember what the odds are. But I was looking up like elk harvest percentages, just like research and stuff, and elk harvest percentages are low. It's like, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I want to say like 25%, probably even lower than that, of people every year fill their tag. But then of that 20%, like 10% is always the same people.
Yep.
And that's just an example. He had the people with him.
He had the ones, yeah.
Yeah, like he had the guys
with
that he needed. He had those 10% of those guys that are the 10% that just kill all the time.
Yep.
Like those guys, Chad and Cole, they kill elk every single year. And you've never met Cole, but you've met Chad.
Yep.
You've seen some of the stuff that he kills, and he killed a big one this year too. I actually have that on our list here for this podcast. At some point, we got to talk with Chad about his elk and the deer he killed also. He actually leaves I don't know if it's today or tomorrow. He's got a Colorado deer tag that he's leaving on. Yo.
Fastest 10 minutes ever.
That was the fastest 10 minutes ever.
Turns out Cassandra was handling stuff with Mark. So
Oh, okay. Awesome.
I didn't know she was up since I'm downstairs. So
My screen recording that I was doing stopped. It
How
failed.
far in?
Just now, and then it didn't save. So that stinks. So you guys are gonna have to listen to everything we had to say, but you're not gonna get to see Tyler until right now for some reason. That's kind of annoying, to be honest with you. It said it stopped due to phone inactivity, which is fine.
Really?
I don't care if it stopped, but why did it not save?
Yeah, that's odd.
So anyways, I'm gonna start screen recording again, and maybe we can get some of this conversation. We have all the audio recorded on
Good.
the camera, so that's not a problem. We have all your audio. We just don't get to see your mug. But so we actually hadn't even got started. We were just talking about how the odds of and percentages of elk harvests each year are so low, and a lot of times like 10% of the people who do harvest are the same people every single year.
Yeah.
And we are fortunate enough to in that area, and really now expanding a little bit with Chad going to other units. We're fortunate enough to be able to hunt with some guys that seem to kill every single year.
Yeah, exactly. And that alone is a big advantage.
It's a big advantage. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So the next thing,
Yeah.
Tyler, I was just about to ask Eric, and you probably don't even know this, Tyler. So we're Nebraska boys, all three of us. And so we are big into our whitetail hunting. And this lucky dude lucky that or smart, I guess. He has arranged his vacation. He is off starting tomorrow, Tyler, for 2 weeks straight. And he's going to hit this thing just perfect, I think, with the timing. Like, we got Halloween coming up. Like, that's always a good weekend. So, starting tomorrow, right?
Yep. Haven't missed a single day at work on purpose for this moment.
Since we went to Idaho.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot to say other than that the timing will be there.
The timing's good. I think we're finally getting some weather this weekend.
Yeah.
Pete, I think the Drurys actually talk about they kind of like a full moon because of how they hang out, right? But we got like no moon right now. Do I have that right? Can you confirm that there's some
They like the full
there's
moon.
some talk they like the
right.
full moon. I think that's something they like because of I think that's just because of evening activity. I think they say, I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I think they say that the deer come out earlier or something. They get active earlier. But yeah, you got kind of a cool spot on the river. You got some good property. We talked about it in our September podcast. We're not really going to specifically talk about the deer. Like Tyler and I, the private land that we hunt in eastern Nebraska, we can talk about those deer because there's nobody else there that's going to know about that spot or know about what we're seeing. But like my public land that I hunt out here and my private land that I hunt out here, your private land, people know about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people that we know do follow like the season's media and stuff like that. So we're not going to talk a lot about specifics in those places, but Eric's got a good spot on some private land where they do harvest good deer. And he's going to hit it right, taking 2 weeks off. The rut should be starting.
Yeah.
What do you have planned, Tyler, for deer? Do you have anything? Are you going this weekend? I know you had talked.
I am actually.
You are?
I am gonna. Yeah, if I'm working on prep and stuff to get going this weekend, and
so you were just not gonna say anything to me, and you're gonna sneak up and you're gonna sit in my secret tree and
kill one
and just not.
Oh yeah.
You weren't even gonna tell me about it.
He was gonna tell you when he was dead.
All those trail camera pictures I've been sending you that say Brian's deer on them.
Yeah.
I was gonna see if I can get one of those.
Well, I saw that. So those trail cameras you put out, I noticed in the bottom corner when you named those cameras, you said Brian's camera.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw, but the deer actually have brands on them this year.
Oh, did you brand it? That's good. I appreciate that. So
because they know you're coming in November. So
where'd you tie it up at? You're feeding it, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
I mean, I got to take it with me when I go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. It's not visible for the surrounding landowners or anything. You got him in the middle there.
Well, I'd bring him home with me, and then he basically, like, I can strap him into the car seat if I wanted to. And then,
keep him in the backyard or the basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you are going. That's pretty sweet. We got some. How big do you think that? It's hard for us to tell when you send us those pictures. Maybe you have more pictures that you're looking at. We got that wide deer on camera. Is that a 9-pointer? Or is it hard to? Have you been able to get a good picture of him just walking away?
We've got a few like left side 9s, and they might go 120. I don't think there's a whole lot of mass there. But he's definitely got width on his side.
That one that you sent me the other day looked wide and tall. Mm-hmm. And I know it's not a 10-pointer, so it's hard to tell, and they're walking away, so they look big, but
yeah. But there's definitely some good deer. I don't think we have anything in there that'll go 140, 150 for sure. It's just some very, very nice, respectable deer that we have running around there that I'd be more than happy to take with a bow.
Yeah, for sure. And we've had a hard time. We've tried for years and years to grow deer, and it just hasn't really panned out, whether it's genetics or what it is. Like, we've been real careful about not harvesting a lot of deer and only harvesting good bucks. And I can't even tell you how many years we've been working on that property. But, I mean, obviously the unfortunate thing is when you don't own a property and you don't have 100% full control over it, it's hard.
Yep.
And our property it's not huge, which is another thing. We're surrounded, and we're at the mercy a little bit of what other people shoot also.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably 400 to 500 yards of trees that are maybe 100 yards wide that we're hunting. And, we're surrounded by, the nice thing is we're surrounded by corn and beans.
Yeah.
And the not so nice thing is we're surrounded by other landowners. So we can't necessarily control exactly what they're shooting. And
for sure.
Some of them aren't shooting real mature deer, but I guess some of that's also based on the hunter. You can't really fault a kid or
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think
shooting an immature deer.
I think everybody should shoot what they're comfortable shooting. Like, if you're proud of what you shoot, then shoot it. Like, I'm not gonna knock on you for what you shoot. I'm not gonna knock on you for it. It's just we have a different feel of what we want to shoot than what the neighbors do, and that's just unfortunate for us that it lines up like that. Like, there's nothing. Mm-hmm. You're fortunate. You don't have neighbors. No. Really, like on one side, right? Yeah. On one side, you don't have neighbors that hunt. So you got some property, and you got some landowners around you that have big deer, like lots of land, and they don't shoot a ton of deer off it.
Yep.
Yeah, and to that note, it's quantity of deer your neighbors are shooting too. Then
For sure.
you can't control quantity.
Yeah, you can't control quantity. So I'm going hunting this weekend. So we are all deer hunting this weekend, which is awesome. I'm going up north. I'm actually taking a new friend that I guess we've shot bows with him twice now. We need to shoot tonight, by the way.
Good.
If you're available.
I'm always available to shoot bows.
But I'm taking a guy, Tyler, you probably don't even know this. His name's Caleb, and he has never killed anything with his bow. And I'm going to take him up. We've shot with him a couple times. I'm going to take him up and just see. I don't think he's too picky on what he kills. I don't know if he'll shoot a doe or not, but we're going to go up and we'll see if we can get him his first bow kill.
Nice.
But we're going to drop down into that bottom on Saturday morning and sit that bottom. This is a weekend, Halloween weekend, that I've always wanted to be in there on that bottom. And I've never been able to do it just with the family and stuff. Like, if Halloween's on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like, I got to be home for Halloween with the kids.
Yep.
So I've never been able to do it. Halloween's on Monday this year. And so this weekend I'm going to get in there, and that bottom is kind of where, I don't know if I've ever shown you the trail camera pictures, Eric, but like that bottom's where the big bucks show up. And historically, this time of year.
I think I checked one of those cameras in that bottom with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did when we were coyote hunting that time. Yep. So it's gonna be good. Either of you, how about like tactics this time of year? So like what's it look like, Eric, when you roll in?
Tactics, I would say putting a ridiculous amount of time into a certain tree stand. Basically, I know if they show up, which trails they're gonna walk. It's just a matter of putting in the time at this point.
Yeah. So yours is like you're working one tree stand because you know the deer are there. You're getting the pictures, and the deer are gonna show up in your spot eventually. Yep. You just got to be there when it happens.
You're sitting for 30 seconds of action.
Yep.
You never know when it's gonna be, but
Yep. Tyler, what about you? Do you use any special tactics like this time of year?
So this time of year, I'm kind of gearing up for, kind of planning for probably a 5-6 weekend season in our spot. So this first weekend, I don't really push in too hard on there. I'm not trying to make a whole lot of pressure. I make sure the wind's right. Which this weekend we're not going to have an ideal wind for that. So I try to basically split it up into 3 sections. So there's 3 different areas that you can kind of sit. And whether that be on the west side, the east side, or in the middle, I kind of play that by the time of year. So this time of year, I'm going to be trying to stay on that west side so I'm not tromping into the trees, and just get the wind right and see if I can find a deer. Call it semi-observation sit, but not really because I'm going in there to kill. So just biggest thing is just make sure the wind's right and not doing anything too aggressive this weekend.
Yeah. And are you saddle hunting this weekend, I assume? You're carrying
I am.
You're a saddle guy. So you're carrying that in. Do either of you hit grunt tubes, rattle antlers this time of year, or what do you?
Not yet.
Yeah. No.
Tyler, you
get in there and I try to make sure they don't know you're in there.
Yeah. Hunting with you, Tyler, I've tried. I'm kind of, a lot of times, like, when you get towards that rut, I get a little more aggressive with that kind of stuff. And I know I've hunting with you, like, you're a little more skeptical with it. Like, I'm, like, wanting to do it, and you're kind of always like, nah, I don't know.
Yeah, and whether it be me doing it at the wrong times, wrong time of year, wrong time of day, or whatever, I haven't necessarily had great luck with it. But I know you've had encounters rattling deer in, so...
Yeah, in that spot that you're going to, yeah.
Yeah, so it's something I've kind of gone away from in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I'd rather get in there and find a nice trail and see if I can not let them know I'm in there.
Yeah, for sure. the spot I'm going to, I'll take some antlers in. I don't know that I'll use them for sure. What I can say I'll probably do is I'll sit quiet. We'll sit quiet all morning. And then whether it's 45 minutes to an hour before we get out of there, like when things have settled down from the real morning activity, I'll probably slam them together a little bit. I mean, obviously that could change on how I feel at the time, but I'll probably slam them together a little bit before we go. This is the last weekend I'm probably going to hunt this property for the year, because once rifle season comes around up there with the public land and stuff, it just goes crazy and everything changes. So I'll probably slam those antlers together a little bit, an hour, 45 minutes before we go, in case there's something sitting bedded down 100 yards away. But I haven't had a lot of luck up where I'm going with the rattling antlers. I've had a lot of experiences with grunting and rattling where you're going this weekend. But like you said, I'm not ready to get super aggressive with it yet. And even when I come back the second weekend of November and hunt with you in eastern Nebraska, it's not a big enough property. It makes you kind of nervous getting too aggressive. Especially when you don't have any, there's no, we don't know this, but we haven't seen any huge bucks that we think are going to get super PO'd and aggressive that we want to try to get in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it was last year on the first weekend, one of the evenings or something. I did witness a knockdown drag out fight with snort Reese's and everything up there. I've just never had a whole lot of luck with it.
Right. Well, it's 10 after 5. You gotta be working at 5:30, right?
Yep.
So we're gonna have to roll out of here. Thanks for joining and talking with us. I think we're probably over an hour here, which is really long for our podcast, to be honest with you. But we are dishing out only one a month, so a little time there is probably not a bad thing. So thanks for joining us, Tyler. We appreciate it. Dipping in and talking about your elk hunting. For those of you watching, make sure you also subscribe, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We're on both of those. It's the Hunting Overtime Podcast. If you're listening on one of those platforms, also find our YouTube channel for Tyler and I's brand. That's The Seasons Media on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. We have theseasonsmedia.com. But we'll be back. Like I said, we're doing one a month. We can handle one a month. So we have our September one out now. This is October. And we'll keep dishing out one a month because we can. We have a lot of stuff going on. November is going to be tough. October, obviously, today's the 27th and we're just recording. So it's crazy when it gets hunting season how fast time slips away from you. But so I'm sure the same thing is going to happen in November. But hey, duck season opened the other day, so now we got that too. Dad said there's no birds around yet, but so we got deer season here. We got waterfowl season coming up. We got a lot of stuff. This is just kind of our happy time of year is these few months here. So okay, anybody else?
No.
We don't really have a closer like some of these other podcasts. We don't have an ender this is the final thing we say every time. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching if you're on YouTube watching this with us. And we'll catch you all on the next episode. That was real jittery going out. That's kind of embarrassing.
At least your voice didn't crack.